Hi, my name is Rebecca Austin. I'll be going over the attacks at Buffalo Supermarket in New York City and the racist theories that inspired the attacks. So, in 2022, the United States experienced a record-setting number of mass shootings. This surge in mass shootings in 2022 has been responsible for well over 35 mass shootings, most of which were identified as hate crimes. So we're going to be looking over what causes such a surge in hate crimes and who the target of these atrocities are. And this picture is Club Q nightclub in Colorado Springs. So the table of contents, first we'll go through the attack at Buffalo Supermarket. In this section, we'll explain the incidents that happened there and kind of give information on the suspect and the victims and the incident itself. Secondly, we'll look at the motivation behind the attack. This section will explain the attacker's replacement theory, which is what ended up inspiring this attack. And then we'll also look at related stories and examples of hate crimes, some other hate crimes that have been inspired by the replacement theory that we'll talk about in the second part. And then lastly, we'll look at what we can do to combat these injustices. So, for starters, these are the victims of the Buffalo Market shooting, and then the gunman as well. And this is supposed to be a video, but I don't think this setup will allow me to do that. But I will put the link in. So on May 14, 2022, 18-year-old white supremacist Peyton S. Gendron shot and killed 10 people, most of which who were African American. Gendron drove over 200 miles to commit this horrific act and live-streamed it publicly. Gendron appeared in court hours after the incident and pled not guilty to his charges, but has since been imprisoned for his crimes and serves as a symbol of hate for white supremacists. The city has been mourning since, and here are some pictures from the incident as well. So the motivation behind the attack, Peyton Gendron's decision to commit this act was a direct result of white supremacy. He was wearing a military uniform to invoke violence and anger inside of American other white supremacist eyes, and then he had also been warned and sent out of the same supermarket the day before, but it was another 24 hours before he would come back. And then the main reason which he attributes to in court is the replacement theory, which is popular within many white supremacy groups. So what is the replacement theory? According to the Counter-Extremist Project, the Great Replacement Theory is an ethno-nationalist theory warning that indigenous European, e.g. white population, is being replaced by non-European immigrants. The Great Replacement concept was popularized by French writer Renaud Camus in his 2012 book La Grande Replacement. Camus postulated that black and brown immigrants were reverse colonizing native white Europeans. This project was created by, obviously, a white supremacist group, which supported the idea that ethnically European people were becoming the minority. And this has been cause for multiple mass shootings since then. So, related stories and examples of hate crimes. The replacement theory has been used over the last few years as justification somehow for the shootings that have happened over the last few years. And so we're just going to look at a few of those examples. The New Zealand attacks in 2019, when 28-year-old Australian Brenton Tarrant killed 49 people and injured 48 people in New Zealand's most deadly mass shooting to date. The white supremacists released fire in 2 mosques, immediately identifying this attack on an ethnicity. This as an attack on ethnicity. According to BBC News, the suspect who was charged appeared to have published a document online outlining his intentions as well as details about the plan for the attack. And this document included references to the replacement theory, which concludes that this theory was also white supremacy and was devoted to that same white supremacist who came up with the theory. Also, the attacks in El Paso, or the attack in El Paso in 2019, on August 3rd in El Paso, Texas, when 21-year-old Patrick Wood Cruisius released fire in Walmart. 23 people were killed and 23 injured. Patrick was detained, and it was released to the public that he also was inspired by the same theory, the replacement theory. So what can we do to combat these injustices? So for starters, you can donate. Definitely donate to help raise awareness for mass shootings and support the victims of tragic incidents. There are many organizations dedicated to raising funds for families affected by gun-related violence, as well as support systems for those who may need someone to talk to. Vote. There's no reason any person should have access to a machine gun, a weapon of war at that. Gun restrictions are a necessity in order to decrease mass shooting numbers. Research candidates for more important government titles which support gun control and work to make your voice heard. Lastly on this page is join a movement. Gun violence is obviously a serious issue, especially in America. Proper restrictions should be in place preventing occurrences like mass shootings. There have been numerous assemblies sponsoring the gun safety movement, which work to campaign for better gun control. But most importantly, education. Simply put, this theory of great replacement is a direct product of a lack of education or a slew of misinformation poisoning the minds of young Americans. This fear that Europeans are losing the power is delusional, offensive, and just simply racist. White supremacists tend to ignore factual history, or rather never even learn about it in the first place, jump on the white supremacy bandwagon, and display their ignorance publicly. This phenomenon has been curated since the Civil War and long before when colonization began to take off. It has moved now into conspiracy theories created by the racist, deeply conservative supporters of white supremacy today who we see invoking violence through gun use. It's our job, as educators, to emphasize the history which has led us to where we are today. We must also not allow any one student to pass through grade school convinced of such ludicrous ideologies. We must preach acceptance, love, and compassion to children from a young age, and diversity should be celebrated. We develop the most as children, and our minds are very susceptible to misinformation at a young age. It is very easy to convince a child that something is good or bad. In order to prevent these mass shootings, we must learn about them, we must talk about them, and we, as educators of the future generation, must give our support to those who need it. Thank you. Here are my references. Thank you.